Hi all and welcome to a new video. Today we are going to be going back and reviewing the Star Wars meta since the last major point changes back in the June time period. With the new Legion meta having a few months to develop now, let's look over the tactics factions have developed, and unfortunately the kind of shoehorned in tactics they've developed as most of the same lists keep winning. The big winners are definitely the Republic and Rebels. They're placing up higher a lot more than they used to. In a lot of the recent large tournaments, the Republic and Rebels have had 3 to 4 lists, placing in the top 20, and in the top 8 having 2 apiece, usually on average, I've found. That being said, most of this data unfortunately comes from a lot of sources like Fifth Trooper, or digging through Discord messages in the official Legion group. I do not know if I am blind, but I've not found the most amazing resource on where to go to get full, detailed list breakdowns other really than Fifth Trooper. So if anyone knows a way I can get that raw data, can you let me know in the comments below? And let's jump right into this. Starting with the Republic, one of the two big winners, it has been pushing hard with the 501st Battle Force and Anakin lists. The 501st Battle Force gives access to a strong gun line and command cards. It is something my local meta has very much slept on, so I was, and still am, very surprised at how strong it has ended up being. Yoda also has a lot of presence in lists as well, allowing there to be actually 2 good lists you can run with the Republic, which is a lot more than you can say for some of the other factions coming up. We're going to go over some of the Republic lists real quick. List number 1 is from the Nova Open. It is a variation of the Anakin 501st gun line. However, it doesn't actually use the 501st Battle Force. It brings Padme as well to bring in an extra VP possibility. The Pikes add in some much needed activation for Republic, and it's kind of funny to see them dominating the meta yet again. The Phase 1 clones are outfitted to be anti-tank and anti-infantry, and an ARC Trooper strike team with Echo is a kind of standard choice to get in another activation that's deceptively strong. The command cards chosen are meant to mostly buff Anakin as well, however we have some of Padme's cards in there too, which can help a lot with kind of tricking the enemy and messing with deployment. In general, it very much seems like a standard Republic online list, which it's good that you can bring these. Phase 1 instead of Phase 2 were chosen probably for the point variations. Also, Anakin has a Force barrier on there to kind of help negate certain amounts of damage I could get through otherwise. Both the Pikes also have their Disruptor cannon upgrades, which allow for some nice anti-vehicle work, and they both have the Pike Syndicate Capo upgrade as well. That way they get Courage 2 without having to rely on the remaining HQ choice. Going into the second list, also from the Nova Open, it is a Yoda-focused Republic list. It is mixed of all clone types, including a clone commander, some Phase 2 clones, some Phase 1 clones, and some ARC Troopers. The ARC Troopers are built with the DC-15X, which allow them to do a lot to help take care of enemy lightsaber wielders. The Phase 2 clones with Boyle are there to kind of keep Yoda alive longer, and seem kind of deceptively strong. Boyle does a lot with his nice little fun keywords. Boyle has Guardian 1 and Scout 1, so he can move and do a lot to help keep things alive. He's finding himself a staple of clone lists pretty fast. In general, it's kind of nice that the Republic have 2 good lists. Now let's go into a faction that unfortunately, well, it might have multiple good lists, kind of just has a lot of the same variation of same from what I have seen. The Separatist meta is, well, the Alliance is definitely enjoying the new meta. They're excelling at bringing in more bounty hunters and taking advantage of their cheap core B1s to dominate the field. Ventress is also a good addition to the forces, allowing a lot more versatility. And I can only find similar looking lists from recent top 8s, so we're just going with the one. This list is from the Lone Star Open. It is a Separatist list. It is bringing a fully souped up Cad Bane to access fun tricks and better VP generation. We have a T-Series tactical droid to kind of just be there as the other main commander, really, the only main commander, because Cad is an operative. And the IG-100 Magna Guards are a nice hammer to the anvil of the B1s. In general, this is kind of just what I've seen from a lot of the competitive Separatist lists. I would love to see more variation in it, and there probably is more variation in it, but I was mostly looking at the top 8 for these meta lists. And lists with close to this type have placed in the top 8 decently consistently. So this is a good example of the top end, high-end meta, I should say, of the Separatist Alliance. Going into the Shadow Collective meta, the Shadow Collective saw some tough love with nerfs to Black Sun. However, the Mandalorian Super Commando saw a drop and are still pretty good. Also, just the one list once again, as there's unfortunately, not really a lot to say about the Shadow Collective this time around. The Shadow Collective list is a Mando-heavy list from the Atlantic City Open. It brings Gar Saxon, the minimum core, and 4 Super Commandos. The Super Commandos are hard to kill with red saves and shields. Giving all of them marksman and Saxon his rifle means board control is very achievable. Everything here is range 4 and can definitely put out work. The 2 Pike Syndicates are completely unupgraded and just there to kind of fill out the core. However, the Black Sun Enforcers are fully souped up with Magdets, a Vigo, Recon Intel, and frag grenades to make them that much more threatening. All of the Super Commandos also have their jetpack rockets, which are very useful. In general, this is a pretty fun list where over half of the list is souped up in the Super Commandos' maneuverability and strength, and it did pretty well, placing in the top 8 in the ACO. I didn't see any other recent top 8 places from Shadow Collective. Next up is the faction that's probably eating the best from all of this, the Empire. With the nerfs to Blizzard Force and some minor point changes, the Empire is still strong. They are still excelling at gun lines, with the Imperial Remnant seeing much more use. Tempest Force is not often making top 8s much, but it's still a fantastic vehicle-heavy list that they have access to that gives them a sort of kind of meta-competitive edge, something maybe different that your opponents might not be totally building for. Looking at list number 1 from the Nova Open, it is a Blizzard Force list, and it also hit number 1, and while it is still strong, it was not as dominant as this time around. It is still your basic Blizzard Force list, bringing the 4 bikes, a Stormtrooper gun line. However, having Commander Vader now does make it play differently. That being said, Compel is not a useless keyword, and having access to that with the heavy response units and the Snowtroopers is very useful. In general, I do think that Blizzard Force was still very strong. The Stormtrooper heavy response unit is still more than worth every inch you pay for it, and arguably one of the best core units in the entire game. That being said, I am happy the top 8s are not just Blizzard Force. You have to play strong into these strengths, and mistakes matter a lot more now that you don't have as much leeway with points. List number 2 is from the ACO again, the Atlantic City Open. It is an Imperial Remnant list, this time bringing a strong and hard-to-crack gun line. The Imperial Remnant requires minimums of each unit to be taken, and this person took advantage of it. They took the minimum 1 Death Trooper, Scout, Shore, and Storm, and then doubled up on Death Trooper, took 2 E-Web teams, and took 2 Imperial Dark Troopers. The E-Web teams allow for a strong board control bid depending on terrain and deployment, and the backbone of this list is the Imperial Dark Troopers. It helps with activation shenanigans in an already activation-heavy list. Ignoring the Dark Troopers alone, we have 8 activations, so with the Dark Trooper, that's 10. But the Dark Troopers can activate twice, that's 12 activations in this list, which is absolutely fantastic. Jumping into the Rebel meta, oddly enough, Andor lists are shining through, which is fantastic because Andor is an amazing show. And now that he's an amazing character in Legion, it makes me want to start a Rebels list that much sooner. Ahsoka is quickly becoming a staple, and the laser cannon teams are shining through the rough. Again, only one list since most of the meta is focused on slight variations of taking the same things with Rebels. This list is from the Nova Open. Bringing what makes the Rebels strong, we have an Andor and Ahsoka list. Rebel veterans, the medium blaster trooper, and laser cannon teams all work amazing together. 2 sniper commando strike teams help with their longer range shooting as well. This is something focused on zone control and being able to hit the enemy across the entire board, with half of your activations, almost half, being extremely long range. Ahsoka is a really, really good hammer to any anvil. And the Rebel vets, the medium blaster trooper, the laser cannon teams, all of those are good anvils. They are hard to get off the board, especially while in cover, and can put out a lot of good damage. In general, pretty good spot where the Rebels are at. Wish it had a bit more variation, but I can't fault my man Cassian for being amazing in everything he's in. And to kind of wrap up everything, the current meta has definitely lifted up the Rebels and Republic. The Empire still has so many strong options, so it still dominates often. And many factions feel limited to one playstyle now, but I hope that changes soon. Especially with a lot of the new releases coming out, most factions are getting interesting new things that can kind of shake things up. I know next hand I am going to be building full into a Republic and an Empire list, and then finally, once everything I want for the Rebels is done, out, which unfortunately is a lot of the resculpts, because I really don't want to get the old Rebel sculpts. I don't mind the Empire ones. I'll also finally jump in and have one of each army. In general, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about the current meta below, and I will see you all next Saturday.